Aish, my people, Malawi politics never rests. One moment you think the show is over, next thing you know, boom, a new cast steps onto the stage looking sharp in black suits and red ties. We're talking about the fresh swearing-in ceremony that had the whole country buzzing like Mzuzu Monmaki Day. Chisale, Peter Mukhito, Phiri, Shadreck Namalomba, Navicha, Jim Mathanga, and Jim Chipungu. Names you've heard before, some you probably thought you'd never see in official photos again. Now, here they are, hand on Bible, taking oaths and smiling for cameras. People are asking the same question. Is this the DPP making a quiet comeback or just Malawi playing political roulette again? So, grab your tea and simmer because I'm about to walk you through 10 facts you need to understand this swearing-in saga. What it means for the DPP, for President Chakwera, and for Malawi's future political map. If you ever thought the old DPP guard was done and dusted, think again. This swearing-in wasn't just a ceremonial moment, it was a statement. Chisale, once the trusted aide and bodyguard to former President Mutareka, walked in with that trademark swagger, like a man who knew he'd been written off too soon. And right next to him, Peter Mukhito, the former Inspector General Police, back in the public eye with a grin that said, retirement is for the weak. Add Phiri, Namalomba, Navicha, Mathanga, and Chipungu to the mix, and you've got a reunion of the DPP's most recognizable faces, the same people who stood at the center of power during Mutareka's era. Each of them represents a different wing of DPP politics, from security and communication to grassroots mobilization. To Malawians watching on TV, it felt like deja vu. Same faces, new titles, and a lot of questions. Some said, aye, this is the old team finding its way back through the window. Others argued, hey, but you can't deny experience. Either way, one thing was clear. Malawi's political circle has no exit door, just a revolving one. Transition. But wait, my friend, a reunion is never just nostalgia. There's always a bigger story behind who gets invited back to the party. Let's talk about why these specific names were chosen. Politics is like football. You don't just pick players you like, you pick the ones who can win you the match. And this cabinet reshuffle is exactly that, a tactical game. The choice of Chisale, Mukhito, Phiri and company wasn't random. Each name carries weight in a different region and network. Phiri is a strategic communicator. Navicha commands grassroots loyalty among women in the southern belt, while Mathanga is known for her firm administrative hand. Chisale and Mukhito, well, their return screams security muscle and loyalty symbolism. Insiders say the idea was to project strength and discipline, especially as the country moves towards an economically tight period and political realignment ahead of 2030. Others see it as a signal to the DPP base, a subtle message that we are still here, we can still command power. For Chakwera's side, this move was a strategic risk. Bringing in all faces with mixed public records into a new era of reform is like inviting your ex to your wedding and hoping for no drama. Malawians were divided. Some said it was bold, others said it was desperation. Transition. But don't get it twisted. This isn't just about appointments. It's about power. Who has it, who lost it, and who's trying to get it back. Let's talk about the optics. You know Malawians, we don't miss details. The moment those photos of Chisale and Mukhito hit social media, Twitter and Facebook exploded. Comments like, welcome back DPP 2.0 and is this a coalition or a comeback flooded timelines. Politically, it looked like a smart chess move. Bringing in people with experience from the Mutareka era adds technical muscle, but also blurs the lines between the current administration and the old DPP system. The images of Chisale smiling in a state function had symbolism. A man once facing court charges, now back in the corridors of power. For supporters, it was a moment of vindication. For critics, it was a sign that Malawi's politics has a short memory. Either way, it reignited the DPP base. Rallies in southern Malawi suddenly saw more blue shirts and chants of APM forever. But optics can be deceptive. While the returnees look like they're strengthening the ruling side, some insiders believe they're actually laying ground for a future political bargain, maybe even a power-sharing scenario when the next election wave hits. Malawi's political dance is all about timing, and these folks know every beat. Transition. Speaking of timing, Fact 4 takes us right into the streets and social feeds to see how ordinary Malawians really reacted. The people spoke and they didn't hold back. On radio call-ins, some Malawians called the appointments a sign of national forgiveness. Others called them a national joke. Supporters argued that experience is valuable. Hey, these are men and women who understand how government works. Critics counted, understanding how to misuse power maybe. The banter was wild and even markets in Blantyre had people debating between customers and tomato buckets. On Facebook, memes did the talking. One showed Chisale holding a Bible with the caption, sworn in or sworn back. Another had Mukhito in dark glasses with the tag DPP reloaded. Ish, Malawians and humour, you can't beat us. But beneath the laughs was real concern. Human rights groups questioned the message being sent, that figures with pending public questions were being rewarded instead of re-examined. Others said this was political forgiveness disguised as national unity. Still, political forgiveness sells well in hard times. People are hungry for leadership that feels decisive, even if it's familiar. And that's exactly the balance this move is testing. Transition, but every bold move needs a response from the other side. And you know who's been watching quietly from the mountain in Thialo, APM himself. Let's talk about the legacy factor. If you listen closely, you can almost hear the echo APM, APM, APM. Because let's be honest, every time one of these old guard figures resurfaces, Peter Mutharika's name creeps back into the conversation. To his supporters, these appointments prove that his era wasn't a failure, that even after being out of State House, his people are still needed to steady the nation. To his critics, it shows that Malawi never really moved on from the DPP's grip on power. APM may be enjoying a quiet life in Thialo, but make no mistake, his influence still flows through the political bloodstream. Some say this is his soft comeback, testing the waters through trusted proxies. Others believe it's Chakwera proving he can work with anyone if it keeps the ship steady. Either way, the symbolism is strong. APM's legacy is like a ghost. You don't always see it, but you definitely feel it in every appointment, every reshuffle, every cabinet photo. Transition. And that, my friends, is where part 2 picks up, because after legacy comes the counter move, Chakwera's game plan, the hidden ambitions for 2030, and whether this is a power merger or a trap in disguise.
You know, President Chakwera doesn't like to shout. He plays chess, not drafts. When the pictures of the swearing in went viral, he didn't rush to the microphone. He just smiled that calm pastoral smile, the kind that hides a whole sermon underneath. Behind the calm, though, sources in the Capitol Hill corridor say there's a calculated plan. Chakwera is betting that bringing ex-DPP figures close neutralizes them. Is that keep your friends close but your rivals even closer trick? If those veterans are inside the tent, they can't easily throw stones from outside. He's also sending a message to the frustrated middle voters who miss the days of discipline and order. You want experience? Fine. Here it is, wrapped in a new ribbon. But the move cuts both ways. It could also look like desperation. A man running short on loyal talent, dipping into the same old bucket to keep government wheels turning. Malawians are watching, arms folded, saying, ish. Because when a president plays chess, every pawn he moves wakes up another one across the board. Let's look at what the opposition is plotting in response. In parliament and in the villages, the opposition benches are buzzing. Some MPs laughed out loud. Let them bring back the same faces that lost 2020. Others are more nervous, whispering that this is a clever trap. If these old DPP loyalists behave well in office, it could soften public anger and make the blue camp look responsible again. Peter Mutharika's loyal MPs smell opportunity. They've already started calling themselves the comeback generation. Rallies are planned, WhatsApp groups are busy, the slogan DPP Simfa is back in the air. Still, not everyone in the opposition is celebrating. A few reform-minded youth wings worry that if the old guard truly merges with government, there'll be no fresh start for 2030. To them, this looks like politics recycling itself instead of renewing. And that talk of 2030, that's not just gossip. It's the new finish line every politician is secretly training for. Let's open that playbook. Malawi's next big political cycle may seem far, but in reality, 2030 is tomorrow morning. Every reshuffle, every handshake, every prayer at a swearing in is already part of that marathon. By welcoming familiar DPP faces, Chakwera's camp is trying to stretch its political tent. But those same faces are quietly eyeing 2030, calculating who could ride public nostalgia back to the top. Norman Chisale's return especially sparks speculation. He has charisma, loyal followers, and deep networks from the Mutharika era. Some insiders whisper that he's testing the ground, seeing if Malawians have forgiven or forgotten. Phiri and Namalomba could rebrand the group faster than you can say campaign launch. So, while the swearing-in looked like a government event, it was really a preview of the next political blockbuster. The posters aren't printed yet, but the auditions have already started. And what about the ordinary Malawian in this movie? The voter whose taxes fund all these ceremonies? Let's hear their pulse. Out there on the ground, people are talking with mixed tones, half hope, half suspicion. Taxi drivers in Blantyre joke that politics is the only job in Malawi where fired today, hired tomorrow. In Dedza, a market woman told a reporter, at least these ones know where files are kept. Maybe work will move faster. In Muzu, a youth activist sighed, same people, new Bible. What change are we swearing to? Radio talk shows caught the mood perfectly. Laughter, sarcasm, and weary realism. Because Malawians are politically literate, they know a comeback when they see one. Civil society groups, though, are cautious. They're calling for clear performance metrics and reminding everyone that experience must also mean accountability. No one wants another merry-go-round where the same faces dance while development stands still. Still, amid the criticism, there's curiosity. If these veterans truly deliver results, stabilizing fuel supply, fixing power cuts, pushing anti-corruption, the public might forgive everything. Malawians don't hold grudges forever. We just like to see action. And that brings us to the final and most unpredictable chapter. What happens next when power starts to reshape itself around all the new forces alike? So, my friend, where does this all leave us? In one word, crossroads. The swearing in of Norman Chisale, Mukhito, Phiri, Navicha, Mathanga, Namalomba, and Chipungu is not just ceremony. It's a signal flare. It tells us that Malawi's political elite has decided survival beats rivalry. Lines between ruling and opposition are blurring. Coalitions may no longer form after elections. They're forming quietly inside State House corridors. If it works, we might see a rare thing. Political experience meeting reform energy. If it fails, it'll confirm what many fear, that our politics is trapped in an endless remix of the same playlist. Either way, this moment will echo for years. Because when sworn-in hands carry both past controversy and present promise, the oath is not just so help me God, it's also so watch me Malawi. And with that, let's bring it home the @Global Pulse News way. Smart, fearless, and straight from the heart of the warm heart of Africa. So, there you have it. 10 facts, 1 ceremony, and 1,000 whispers of what might come next. From DPP ghost walking back into the spotlight to Chakwera's quiet chess moves, the story of these new ministers is really the story of Malawi learning or refusing to change. If this breakdown hit your political nerves, smash that like button. Subscribe to @Global Pulse News and ring the bell for more fearless, witty, and proudly Malawian analysis. We don't just report, we decode the drama. Now your turn. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Is this a smart political gamble or the same old DPP comeback in new suits? Let's talk. Until next time, stay sharp, stay informed, and keep your pulse on the truth.